Well, hello friends. I chose this week for this painting because this Saturday, May 22nd, it will be 10 years since the tragic tornado devastated our hometown of Joplin, Missouri. I'll read from this publication, which was put out by the Ozark Christian College. It has a description of what took place. Shortly before 5:30 p.m., the tornado sirens began to wail. And at 5:41 p.m., a tornado touched down on the southwest edge of the city. Almost a mile wide, the tornado was wrapped in pounding rain and hail, with winds up to 200 miles per hour and multiple vortexes within the gigantic funnel. The massive twister raged through the heart of Joplin for 6 long, slow miles. The EF5 tornadic winds blew out windows, ripped off roofs, folded steel trusses like paper, snapped oaks like toothpicks, tossed semis hundreds of yards, crushed cars like soda cans, destroyed commercial buildings, disintegrated houses, impaled a tree with a rubber hose, and lifted a 9-story concrete hospital off its foundation. 20 minutes after the tornado touched down, it was gone. But the tornado had literally cut the city in half, its path a wicked gash through Joplin's midsection. From that ragged scar of destruction, the stories began to emerge. Over 150 dead, 1,100 injured, 7,000 houses destroyed, 300 businesses swept away, 4,000 jobs lost or affected. The deadliest tornado in U.S. since 1947 had devastated almost 30% of the city. As the survivors stood among the rubble, the scene overwhelmed them, their faces expressionless in disbelief. I'm going to try to compose myself after that. Jack determined to paint a painting, this one, Tree of Life, in kind of a whimsical style, kind of a kid style, to provide vision and hope for the children and the adults who had endured this terrible storm. Here's the card we created, and you can see that inside there's a key that highlights 37 things that he has placed within this painting. And he had 3 purposes in mind: recover loss, rebuild lives, and restore hope. This card is going to be offered free to anyone who enters the code that we'll put at the end. So let's look at the painting. Number 1 is a rainbow, which God gave after the great flood as a symbol of hope. Number 4 on the key is a treehouse with blue tarps. This was a familiar sight on those homes damaged but not destroyed. Number 5 is a hot air balloon, hope rising out of disaster. Number 8 is the time of the tornado, 5:41 p.m. Number 9, cut limbs, loss of trees. When a disaster like this takes homes and businesses and schools and churches, it seems crazy to miss the trees. But the landscape was totally changed by their absence. Number 11 was the rebuilding schools. Personally, the junior high and the high school I attended were both destroyed beyond repair, along with 8 other schools that were either severely damaged or completely devastated. Number 16 is the Cupcake Church. Jack wanted church to be a welcoming place, especially for children. But this also has a personal touch, as it reminds us of the 28 churches that were either destroyed or greatly damaged, and also of our friends who owned a cupcake bakery. Not only was their business destroyed, but also their home. Number 17 On the school is the date of the tornado, 52211. Number 20 is a youth giving out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to the volunteers. We were digging through the rubble of my aunt's home and had been at it a little longer than expected. A station wagon pulled up and out popped a family offering us water and a sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. How humbling to be the recipient of such a timely offering. And we are so grateful for the many volunteers who came from all across the country to help in our time of need. Number 21, the lemonade stand. You can make lemonade, but it also has a sign that says proceeds to Joplin. So many people gave what they could to help others. Number 22 is an interesting depiction of Christ and two people, perhaps those on the Emmaus Road. We can ask him the questions that plague us when things like this happen. Number 25 is a tornado slide representing the disaster. Number 28, butterflies. Many saw these as signs of hope. Can you find all 12? Well, you'll have to have the card for that. Number 29, 3 crosses on the tree. 2 on the door, 1 in the shadow. This is where the true hope and resurrection come. Number 34 is the door to this tree of life. The handle is a question mark. What will you do with Jesus? The only entrance into the tree of life is through the door of faith in him. Number 35 also represents the invitation from God himself. In Matthew 11:28, he says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Number 36, the tree of life. The old oak tree is filled with life, representing our source of rest, our source of restored hope that is a confident assurance of all things working together for good and better things to come. To close, I'd like to tell you two short stories. One, we were in our shop at Silver Dollar City in 2012 when a 12-year-old boy named Tyler came in, and he seemed to be intrigued by the painting Tree of Life, so we told him all about it. And when we did, he and his mother began to tell us their story. They were in the 15th Street Walmart when it was destroyed. They survived by going into the bathroom there. And he sat there for the longest time just looking at all the details of the painting Tree of Life. And they left. And then his parents came back and they said, he can't quit talking about that painting. All he's been asking for Christmas is an iPad, but he doesn't want it anymore. He wants that painting. And of course, he got it. The other story is about our friend Matt, who lived in the apartments behind the 15th Street Walmart. And they were also destroyed. He lived on the 3rd floor, and he survived by hunkering down in a closet. After the storm, when he crawled out, he was now standing on the roof because there was not a 3rd floor. The next day, he went out to see if there was anything he could retrieve, and he saw his car was it looked like it had been in a terrible wreck. And all the windows were blown out, and everything inside was just drenched from all of the rain. But there on the console was his Bible, completely dry and undamaged. Perhaps the most important part of the painting is the children. Look at them, they're all dressed up. Perhaps they are imagining what they will be in the future. Let's close today with our memory verse. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11.